Good afternoon, all. Come on in, find a comfortable spot to sit down.
Please don't all come in at once and trample each other. We don't want any problems.
Keep socially distanced, et cetera, but welcome to the July Landscape Inspectors Association meeting. Thank you all for being here. As people show up, we will continue to admit them. A couple things which you may hear me say more than once. If for some reason your name is not showing up on the screen, it's because we do not have you associated with whatever venue you're signing in on. That becomes important when we're assigning CEUs. So if you do not see yourself up there, please, you can shoot me a text on the side, or you can enter the chat and shoot that to us that you've called in from some particular number. We want to make sure that we give all the proper credit to people that are there at the and attend in these meetings. But again, if you don't see your name, that means that you've signed in from a different venue. All right, and it's good to see some people that we have not. Don't make me mute you guys. It is good to see the people as they are again piling in the door. A couple things we want to cover today. What we're gonna, we've got a very good speaker. We've got Rose Button Bouchard that's going to be doing a presentation on the Browardscapes. As I covered last month when I made an impassioned plea to you all that COVID is not done with us. We may be done with COVID, but it's not done with us, and that it was still impacting people. So please do what you needed to do to protect yourself and stay away from it. So even though protected, our other speaker, Michelle Leonard, as I call her because I knew her prior to her marriage, Michelle, who was going to be doing the presentation from the Keys, has caught COVID, as she said, for the second time, even though she was vaccinated and boosted, et cetera, et cetera. So no fun. But unfortunately, the COVID has kind of, as it is respiratory, has kind of settled in her lungs, and she's tired, et cetera. So she has had to drop off of the speakers list for today. Fortunately, Mike, Dr. Orphanides, has stepped up, because if you remember a couple months back, he had a presentation he was going to do to give to us, and he's going to follow up and give us that presentation today. So you'll still have a very good educational session. You've got two great speakers set for today, but I will tell you again, two things I will ask you. I will tell you, but I will be asking you. One is, COVID is not done with us, as we see losing a speaker today. And anybody, if you're on the phone or on text much any given day, you're going to find somebody that's still coming down with the stuff. So please do what you need to protect yourself. It's super important for your health and everybody else's. The other is a quick expounding on that same thing. Talking to the finest group of people that are in the green industry. The majority of us that are in the green industry at least spent the early part of our green industry career outside, if not our entire career outside. And since we are the Florida landscape inspectors, you know that the Florida sun is very unforgiving, and this time of year it reminds us how unbearably hot it is out there, and we can work through it, and we can forget it, or we can live with it because it's our chosen career. But I will make a plea this month. I hope not to have a monthly plea, but I will make a plea for this month, and that is get yourself checked out. When we spend all the years that we do in the sun, it takes its toll, whether you realize it or not. And I spent my morning in a dermatology chair, getting cut and burned and cut and burned. I texted Kevin earlier. I said, I feel like an unwanted Florida holly, and it was slash and burn. They'd come in and cut, they'd burn some things, they'd cut more, they'd burn more. It's not a good time. So those of you that have not, or just getting into this, or those of you that have been in for a long time, we know we've heard it, we know we've said it before, but it is super important to protect your skin from the sun. Yes, long sleeves, cover is the way to go. Don't forget hats, the bigger, the floppier, the bulkier, whatever it is. Yes, and sunscreen as well. Everything you can possibly do to protect your sun, because it happens. It happens. You know, we're kidding ourselves to think that being out in that sun all the time, that it's not going to impact us. So I ask you to please look out for yourself, protect, cover, and use sunscreen. I will now get off my soapbox, but I'm not taking off my mask because I will scare half of you out of the room. So I'm not going to do that part. Okay. And with that, Kevin, I'm going to, you've got some good announcements. We'll get off my soapbox and get to the good stuff. You've got some good announcements as far as newly certified members. So I'm going to turn me off and turn it
I've
on.
unmuted myself, so I can just jump in. You can hang out. Yeah, no, we have actually 7 new certified members. I don't know if any of them are on with us this morning or this afternoon, but Samuel Chileron, Ryan Vogel, Peter James, Brian Jackman, Jesus Borrego, Bonnie Fiallo, and James Fetter were all able to complete the spring certification exam. So many congratulations to them. We've got another session coming up here in August, really just a couple of weeks away. I believe the application is online, but if it is not, shoot a email to exam@landscapeinspectors.org and I can shoot you a note with the application that has gone out to a number of folks who had expressed an interest prior to. So hopefully they've got that and we'll be returning them relatively shortly. We do need time to vet to some degree. We don't just let any old Tom, Dick, and Harry, just randomly take the test. So we'd like to know that you're actually in the industry. But apart from that, we do have, I think I had something like 30 interested parties. And I'm saying that because if every single one of those people did come and take the exam, we'd have a bit of a problem. We would otherwise be doing this at the county extension office in Homestead, but they are undergoing some renovations or something. And Henry advises that won't be possible. So we are using a smaller facility in Miami Gardens as opposed to Homestead, which some people may be thrilled about, not having to drive to Homestead. But apart from that, it should be pretty easy and central and easy to get to. But space is limited. So if it is something you're interested in, do take the time to get that application in as soon as you can. We may have to cap it at about 15 or 16 people. So, and that doesn't seem like that much. It actually, that may seem like a lot, but it's actually not that much. It goes real quick. So that's about what we average on any given test. And I think we're comfortable there. But like I said, we had a lot of interest in it. So want to make sure we were able to accommodate everybody who can reasonably take the exam in this next session here in the summer. So with that, I think, would you like to kick to Rose?
Before you do, Kevin, real quick, 2 things. One, again, nice job by you and your committee working on the certification. For those of you members that are out there, the LIAF certified member is carrying more and more weight. We're getting a great group of people that are requesting certification. And I will give, between Kevin, Mike, Henry, Peggy, and anybody else I may be missing on that committee, have done a couple things. They've made that test more accessible, but at the same time, they continue to ramp it up a little bit with higher expectations of people that are going to be certified landscape inspectors. And that is a good thing for all of us that already are certified, and a good thing for the industry. So Kevin, again, congratulations to you and your committee for continuing to put out a good product, for making it valuable. And when you deal with people that have been certified by LIAF, you're dealing with a true professional. Part of that professionalism is the upkeep of that. You don't just pass it once and keep it forever. There are CEUs required over the 3-year period that you keep up. We work diligently at at offering quality additional education from LIAF, such as the monthly meetings, the seminars, workshops put on by the individual chapters, as well as we accept good educational products that are put on by some of our other fellow associations such as ISA, FNGLA, FACE, et cetera, DBPR, FDAX. If they put those on, typically if they ask in advance, we will give them credit. So when you go to those meetings, make sure you ask whoever's putting the host on, say, is there a sign-up sheet for LIAF? That's the cleanest way to get it. So if you attend an FNGLA session and it involves something that would carry over, that LIAF would look at and say, yes, that involves something our members would benefit from, then when you go or when you sign up for those programs, reach out to the host and say, are we receiving credits from LIAF for this? If that's the case, then sign up at that time. If not, they can reach out to us and request them. If all else fails and maybe you attend something through the university or something a little more off the beaten path and want to request that to be a CEU for you individually, there is a form that can be filled out. You can submit that through the website and the committee will review that and see again if that's something we will give individual credit on. We're not as crazy about that. We'd rather have it assigned ahead of time. We'd rather have it open to all the people that attend. But if you need individual credit, there is a venue that we can go through and do that. So make sure you're keeping up on your CEUs for those of you that have been certified previously, so you can stay certified. The other thing you need to do to stay certified is to be a member in good standing, you must have paid your dues. We're getting closer. You're going to be receiving some printouts or emails from me, basically, if you haven't, but don't wait. You have a pretty good idea if you paid for 2022 or 2021, because all those, especially those ones in arrears, are just going to cost you more. It's kind of silly. Be a member in good standing. We want everybody to be there. We want everybody to stay certified. For those of you that are not certified, we want you to become certified. It makes our whole association stronger and it's good for the overall green industry. One more and then I will quit. If you look in the chat box, I don't know if they were sent to me individually or to the group in general, but I see things from Richard Field, John Harris, other people that have been in this industry as long as I have. And as soon as you mention things like dermatologist and sun damage, they've been there and they've seen it and they're throwing their weight behind the same idea. You got to look out for yourself. You got to take care of yourself and you got to be protected. So with that, Kevin, I will turn it back over to you so you can introduce Miss Rose, though she'd be familiar. And Rose, I thank you very much for participating in this. So Kevin, to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Well, and Rose, you can begin to share if you'd like, but I will be delighted to introduce you. Rose Butman is the Naturescape Program Manager, and as Program Manager, Rose organizes programs and community projects that support sustainable landscapes and wildlife habitat. Rose is an ISA certified arborist, Florida Master Gardener, and a National Wildlife Habitat Steward. She serves on the Broward County Extension Overall Advisory Council and the Regional Advisory Council for the University of Florida IFAS, or rather Institute for Food and Agricultural Sciences. She's a board member of the South Florida Aquatic Plant Management Society, as well as numerous other local boards. Rose was a member of the initial task force for Naturescape Broward and is active in the National Wildlife Federation Flyways Coalition. Her home is registered as the National Wildlife Federation Backyard Wildlife Habitat. Rose has provided gardening tips on our local NBC6 and nationally on designing spaces. And with that, Rose, you can take it away.
Oh, hello, everyone. Great to almost see you. So thank you so much for inviting me. I gave you guys several different options and you decided that you wanted to hear about expanding our urban tree canopy. So I am going to take you up to date on some of the things that are happening. So we want to talk about what the benefits of trees are. And this is a Frank Lloyd Wright quote that the best friend on earth of man is the tree. And when we use the tree respectfully and economically, we have one of the greatest resources on earth. Unfortunately, a lot of the people we live with in Florida don't really realize that. To put things in perspective, here's a picture that I love of what Las Olas Boulevard looked like in 1912. This is what we're dealing with now. Broward County is pretty much built out laterally, so now we're going up. You can see that we have built out all the way up onto our conservation areas. So 2/3 of Broward County is conservation area. The rest of it is our urban area. And our economy and our ecology is dependent on clean and adequate water. With a booming population, Florida is facing a deterioration of our quality of life and our environment as water resources are diminished and degraded. And we're going to see how our urban tree canopy plays into that. So when we start about planning for the future, trees provide multiple benefits to society that should be considered in planning for the future. Some of these benefits are moderating climate, and we can see how hot everything's getting. They help to lower energy use in our buildings. They reduce atmospheric carbon dioxide and improve our air and water quality. They mitigate rainfall, runoff, and flooding. They lower noise impacts, and they enhance aesthetics for human health and social well-being. So how will our choice of tree species be affected by some of these factors, such as population growth? Everybody is moving to Florida. The census shows now that 900 to 1,000 people move to Florida per day. That's not visiting tourists. That's people who've decided to pick up their tent and move to another village, and that's us. So that's obviously going to increase our water demands, and we're going to have land use changes. We've already converted our Everglades to concrete and fragmented habitat, and that's going to continue. We also have to deal with climate change, things getting hotter, and saltwater intrusion as the seas rise. So some of our environmental concerns directly relate to, of course, human beings and our population. This particular slide shows the population areas as of 2005. So those red areas are mostly concentrated along the coastlines and a little bit up into central Florida. The darker green areas are conservation land that are supposedly permanently protected. Now let's see what the projections are. With the population growth that we're having, Florida's population is expected to double by 2060. That's obviously going to increase our demand for water. It's going to increase our pollution. And of course, it's going to decrease our habitats that filter polluted runoff before it returns to the aquifer. So for me, this picture is pretty scary. We have many benefits of trees: social, historic, community, environmental, and economic, and we're going to touch on a few of those. So healthy trees are going to increase in value with age and pay us big dividends by increasing our property values, beautifying our surroundings, purifying our air, and saving energy by providing cooling shade from our summer's heat. Trees do moderate the effects of sun, wind, and rain. We know that the temperature in the vicinity of trees is cooler. It also affects wind speed direction, and it reduces our stormwater runoff. So urban trees are useful and valuable components of our city's stormwater infrastructure and provide measurable reductions in runoff, volume, and pollutant loads. So they're going to help to control that runoff, reduce the stormwater flow, reduce stress on the city's infrastructures, and increase effectiveness of stormwater systems. And people don't really realize how helpful trees are in this way. You can see how the tree canopy intercepts that precipitation. The rainfall is intercepted by the leaves and the bark. We have our evapotranspiration. They start to store some of the water in the canopy, and they flow down that that flow of water slows down through a thoroughfare. So you're going to have less runoff as it gets absorbed by the root systems and helps to recharge our water table. If you have an impervious surface, you're going to get more of that heavy runoff. Trees do conserve water and they reduce soil erosion. The tree roots are going to hold soil in place, preventing erosion and stabilizing slopes. The important thing is that toxin and impurities are filtered, and the amounts of chemicals transported to our streams and waterways are decreased. Now, here are some of our urban stormwater challenges. Let's take a look at these two diagrams here. On the left, we have a lot that has natural ground cover on it and some trees. We're getting 40% evapotranspiration and 10% runoff. 25% is shallow infiltration from rain, and we get a 25% deep infiltration, which goes down to our aquifer. Now, if we look at what we have on the right-hand side, we have 75 to 100% of impervious surface. So our evapotranspiration is going to drop down to 30%. And look what happens to our runoff. We've now increased from 10% to 55%. The shallow infiltration of the areas that are pervious is reduced to 10%, and our deep infiltration, which helps to replenish our aquifer, is reduced down to 5%. So these impervious surfaces limit the infiltration, increase runoff quantity delivered to our receiving waters, leading to our degraded waterway conditions. Pollutants associated with urban areas such as sediment, nutrients, heavy metals, these all impact chemistry and aquatic ecosystems of our receiving waters. The larger the tree, the more storm water it can manage. And what we see happening is we lose a lot of our larger trees in our urban areas due to development. And a lot of times they would get replaced with smaller trees or with palm trees. So we want to have as much of that large urban tree canopy as we can possibly fit in. I see that my screen is somewhat cut off at the top. I'm not sure if yours is. I've got that little bar up there. I don't know if I can move that. Is that better? So this picture was taken by drone by a friend and coworker this past week. This is the champion rain tree in downtown Fort Lauderdale, the Salmonia saman. It used to be called Albizia saman. So this is in the process of being moved. It was supposed to be moved this week. It is slated for the move next week on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on the weather. With our heavy rains, we had too much flooding there this past week to move it. So on the riverfront across from the Stranahan House is this valuable environmental asset, as well as its aesthetic icon. Over the next 25 years, the rain tree is anticipated to intercept 258,304 gallons of rainfall and avoid 72,309 gallons of stormwater runoff. Hopefully, this tree will survive this, what I feel is an unnecessary move. But that's my personal opinion. All right. So now, there we go. Canopy cover reduces rainfall intensity. So you can see all these people here huddled under this beautiful tree. The trees intercept that rainfall and they help to increase the infiltration and the ability of the soil to store water by slowing that water down. By retaining water in their canopy, even for a short time, these trees can disperse the precipitation over a longer time period and reduce that velocity of the water when it does fall. Now, this is a water sensitive urban design here. We're looking at a typical urban street area. In the first part, we have a house here with one tree out in the swale, and it is providing some pedestrian human thermal comfort. As we get more complex with our plantings, we increase that forest habitat and our biodiversity. As we get more tree canopy in there, we have more energy saving benefits from these shaded buildings. We have some projects that I thought you might be interested in that have taken place in the past couple of years here in Broward County. This project was part of the Youth Climate Summit, and it was a community project with Dillard High School and Parkway Middle School. And they implemented a bioswale on a 2-acre area located on Sistrunk Boulevard. The students were very enthusiastic. They had 6 mature trees that were planted that day, and the students planted native plants, 23 shrubs, and over 1,000 herbaceous plants, and placed 6 cubic feet of gravel in there to improve the stormwater quality. We have economic benefits of our trees as well. Property values have increased, but property values of landscape homes are 5 to 20% higher than those of non-landscaped homes. The National Association of Realtors says that well-landscaped yards with mature trees and bushes that provide privacy not only fetch higher prices, they sell more quickly than houses with little or no landscaping. The economic benefits of trees can be both direct and indirect. We know if you just look at the Fort Lauderdale area, the areas that have the beautiful old tree canopies in Coley Hammock, Rio Vista, Victoria Park, these are highly prized areas to move into. Unfortunately, when we have developers come in, one of the first things they do is take out some of the trees that make these particular areas more welcoming, and they begin to change the nature of these neighborhoods. So we do say that trees do save energy. So we can talk to people about this direct economic impact. If you plant deciduous trees that shed their leaves during the winter, they provide shade and block heat from the sun during the hotter months, and by dropping their leaves in the fall, they emit more sunlight in the colder months. But here in Florida, our colder months are diminishing, so we don't have that many cold months anymore. But if you place these trees on the south and west sides of your buildings, and you shade all the hard surfaces of your driveways and patios and sidewalks, you help to minimize that landscape heat load. So there is a direct benefit found in decreased energy use and associated cost reductions. Air conditioning costs are significantly lower in a tree shaded home. So again, talking about heat and energy, when we talk about our cities and our urban areas now, trees can help to cool that heat island effect on our inner cities. These islands result from storage of that thermal energy in the concrete, the steel, and the asphalt. So these heat islands are 3 to 10 degrees warmer than the surrounding countryside, and the collective effect of large area of transpiring trees, which are evaporating water, helps to reduce those air temperatures in these areas. So the increased urban forest canopy can reduce that urban heat island and reduce urban particulate pollution, as well as reduce the runoff and increase the infiltration that we spoke about earlier. I was speaking to Mike earlier today at the meeting that we both attended this morning at UF, that this is the Green Infrastructure Series map for Broward County. And this shows what the county's urban tree canopy looks like in a snapshot. So the goal is 40% coverage in our urban area. Currently, our average is 20%. And that's those greener areas on here are showing the 20 to 39% categories, and the light green in that central core I want you to pay attention to is 0 to 19% tree canopy. And we're going to be talking about that bullseye in the central core a little bit later in this presentation. So this is an overall shot by aerial. When the property appraisers do their aerials, we tag this on. So it does not measure individual trees, and it does not distinguish between species. So these can be including invasive species in here as well. And it's just a single snapshot in time. It's just that particular moment when those aerial photographs were taken. Now, this began happening in 1996. In 1996, when they did the first aerial, there was 13% tree canopy. By 2010, when they did the second one, it had increased to 19%. Well, I came on with the county in 2016, and I kept saying, well, where's the next one? Because I thought, wow, you know, all these Arbor Days, all these Earth Days, all these tree giveaways, all of the beating the bushes we've done with this environmental work, I was hoping to see another big leap in that urban tree canopy. But as you can see, from 2010 to 2018, we've only gone up to 20% across the board. Now, some municipalities are going to be higher and some municipalities are going to be lower. That's our average for the urban area. So why is that? Was part of it Hurricane Irma? It just so happens that Hurricane Irma hit that week, and that overhead shot was taken the same week as Hurricane Irma came through. And if you haven't seen our Gone with the Windstorm brochure, we do have that on the broward.org/naturescape website, which you can download. Broward County Parks alone lost 1,800 trees in Hurricane Irma. That's not counting any of the city parks or the state parks, and it's not counting any residential areas. That's just our county parks. So this brochure was meant to help educate our residents on selecting appropriate replacement trees. And it does address some of the factors why trees fail, which Mike gave me some beautiful pictures of circling roots to include. So if you haven't seen that brochure, you can download it. If you want any for your cities and you contact me, I can give you hard copies. Just let me know for any events that you're having. Well, what about development? As I said, we have development and we have redevelopment. And one of the first things that happens is that all of our good soil gets scraped off and all of our trees get taken out and everything gets compacted. And then we replace with the minimum requirement that we have to replace with. This map, I think, is very interesting because I had asked Katie, our engineer at the time, would she do me a map that showed me where the increases and decreases in tree canopy were from that 2010 to 2018. And you can see that a lot of that loss of tree canopy is, of course, along the coastlines where we have a lot of development, and out here in the western area that was picking up with development as well. So we want to make Broward a more livable and resilient and a sustainable place to call home. We want to seek to counteract the negative effects of climate change. We have climate change, whether you agree or disagree on why it's here. It doesn't really matter at this point. It's here, and how are we going to deal with it? So we want to increase that tree canopy to counteract the rising temperatures, to help keep our air clean and provide shade and habitat, increase property values, and help cool our urban landscapes. Some of you may know about this or have heard about this. We have lost 3 billion North American breeding birds since 1970. A lot of that is due to their habitat loss and degradation, urban sprawl, fragmented forests, also other human-caused threats such as the increased pesticide use, domestic cats, and collisions with windows. But certainly a large amount of that is due to the fragmentation of their habitat and the loss of tree canopy. So for those of you who are not familiar with Naturescape, Naturescapes are Florida-friendly landscapes that conserve water, reduce pollution, and create habitat to attract our native and migratory wildlife. So the way that Naturescapes actually differ from strict Florida-friendly landscapes is any landscape can be Florida friendly as long as you adhere to the 9 principles, which are more best management practices. You don't have to have one native plant on your property to become a Florida friendly landscape. It's more of how you manage that property and the lack of invasives on it. When we talk about Naturescapes, we like to add that native component in there. So we have community wildlife habitat update. Now we have 98.7% of Broward County's urban area that is either registered or certified as a community wildlife habitat. If you look on this map, any of the green cities on this map are ones that have already reached their certification. The blue areas are newly registered areas that are working towards their certification. And as of December of 2021, we have had over 5,189 registered naturescapes in Broward County. All of our public schools are certified as schoolyard habitats, all 235 of them, and 65 charter or private schools. If you see the city you work in or the city that you live in on this list and it's in bold, that means that that city has already met their requirements for certifying gardens in their city, doing Arbor Days, Earth Days, outreach events, tree giveaways. And the ones that are not in bold are the ones that are working towards that certification. So any help that you can give them would be appreciated. So what is it all about? It's about providing habitat for wildlife where people live, work, learn, play, and worship. So you could be a church, you could be a community garden. There are all sorts of things. Even if you're just in a condominium and you just have a little alcove that you can convert to a little butterfly garden or do a butterfly garden in a pot, you can still register with National Wildlife Federation, which makes you automatically recognized as a naturescape in Broward County. So the National Wildlife Federation is one of the oldest conservation groups in the country as a nonprofit, and their community wildlife habitat program provides community leaders with a focused framework for restoring wildlife habitat and engaging community members as they work to attain that certification as a wildlife friendly community. So this helps to enhance and restore wildlife habitat in our urban and suburban areas across the country, while also connecting existing work around climate resiliency, community resiliency, urban forestry, water conservation, and beautification. Well, why do we want to attract wildlife? It's important to maintain that ecological balance. We want to try and incorporate some of that wildlife habitat into our urban designs. We need to provide that nesting and roosting habitat for native and migratory birds, as well as butterflies and other native wildlife. That's where our native plants come in, because they help to provide that balanced and healthy ecosystem. They are more adaptable to our climate, and they generally require less water once they are established. And we know we are going to be having our water issues as our population increases. So one of the things I wanted to tell you about that I'm not sure that you've heard about is Broward County Naturescape had partnered with the National Wildlife Federation on the Broward Habitat Connectivity Project. So this project's purpose was to identify and improve and conserve important stopover habitat for migrating songbirds along the Atlantic Migratory Flyway in Broward County. And we are focusing on the urban areas and other landscapes where there was limited quality habitat. Remember that GIS map that I had showed you about where the lower tree canopy was. So in 2016, when we started the connectivity project, Naturescape Broward had conducted an assessment using this GIS mapping and demographic information to identify the most essential locations in Broward County to create larger wooded habitats or habitat buffer zones around existing tree stands. The assessment looked at existing tree canopy, existing NWF certified wildlife habitats. We also considered food deserts and other factors. We selected 7 sites to create these habitat buffer zones, and they were in Lauderdale Lakes, Lauderhill, and North Lauderdale. These communities have a significantly less tree canopy. They were in that 0 to 19% central core, and the green space, they have less tree canopy and green space than exists in other parts of the county. These communities also have a lower average median income than the rest of Broward County. And we'll say, well, you know, what does that really have to do with anything? We'll get into that a little bit later when we get into tree equity. So as part of this project, we installed trees at schools in these areas. And the trees that were professionally installed were good 8 to 12 foot trees that were put into these schools. So here we see a tree going into Wellaby Elementary School in Sunrise. And this is helping to plant these native trees to support our migratory birds. In that first year, we had 10 to 15 foot trees planted in 9 schools and parks in the area with low tree canopy. We also gave away those little, tree seedlings to the kids and stuff at different events. So 17,000 of those were distributed, native tree seedlings, through community events. I'm not really excited about tree seedlings. I really don't think that many of them actually survive. That's why I insisted as part of this project, we put the big trees in, and we also did a lot of 3-gallon material as giveaways and tree plantings with the children and at the different schools and parks. We had over 100 homes certified with NWF in that first year. So here's the other thing that I'd like to put into perspective when we're talking about environmental equity. There was a 2021 study that found in 92% of the 5,723 of the largest municipalities in the US, which includes 167 million people, low-income areas have less urban tree canopy cover and are on an average 34.7 degrees hotter than high-income areas. That's really unfortunate. And a lot of that, I know we've had a lot of problems trying to get some tree canopy into this central core for the longest time. A lot of the municipalities were not wanting the monies that were in the tree trust for them because they didn't want to have to maintain those trees afterwards. So we tried to concentrate on the schools, the parks, and the individual residents in order to get that canopy into those areas. So we partnered with 5 parks and 14 schools, and we expanded the tracts of wooded habitat. We worked closely with more cities because each year we added more cities on in that central core. So we're now working with not only Lauderdale Lakes, North Lauderdale, Lauderhill, but also Sunrise, Tamarack, Margate, and we added on the Broward Municipal Services District. So we're engaging these residents in learning about and planting native trees throughout their communities. And we're working with the schools by creating these outdoor learning laboratories where we get the kids out of the classroom and into their gardens there at the schools, and to learn their STEM, their science, technology, engineering, and math through hands-on environmental education. We planted hummingbird and butterfly gardens as well at these schools for our hummingbirds get to be part of that migratory bird project. One of the things we did was working in the BMSD, we were able to provide a few residents there with native Geiger trees on their residential properties. We want to support the cities to make meaningful progress towards their certification as National Wildlife Federation Community Wildlife Habitats. So our ultimate goal is to partner with these cities in the long term and try and train local leaders through our Habitat Steward Training Program and support the cities as they're working towards their certification. To become certified as a community wildlife habitat, a city has to certify properties as NWF wildlife habitat and perform education and outreach in their communities. Now, the county does offer a free week-long habitat steward training that usually takes place in January. We encourage different municipalities to send 1 or 2 of their employees to this. Sometimes they're parks people or sustainability people. Anybody that you know is active in your city and participates maybe on some of your sustainability or beautification boards are great targets for this that you can recommend. We accept people from municipalities, from, you know, Sierra clubs, garden clubs, master gardeners, and the general public. So any individual with a keen interest in the environment and a willingness to volunteer their time and expertise to help others to create or restore wildlife habitat is welcome. And as I say, it's a 5-day program and there is no charge for it, but you do have to commit to the 5 days. We usually cut it off at about 20 people. And unfortunately, because of the COVID surge this last year, we were all set with all of our locations and ready to go. And we had to stop because this is something that I feel is not conducive to being virtual. This is a hands-on thing and we're at a different environmental location each day, a different ecosystem. We also offer this training to teachers in the summertime. So there is a group of teachers that take this course as well. So our proper tree selection increases the probability of a sustainable and resilient urban tree canopy. And trees and associated plants that create these local ecosystems provide habitat and food for birds and animals. They also offer suitable mini climates for other plants that would otherwise be absent from our urban areas. And biodiversity is an important part of urban forestry. Though oaks are wonderful and they're one of the best trees to plant for wildlife, if that's all you plant and something hits oaks, we're in trouble. Just like the whitefly hit our ficus. We want to have biodiversity in our urban forestry, and we want to try and incorporate these native plants in there as much as we can. Wildlife such as the cedar waxwing here on the right is dependent on many native plant species for their survival, because our native plants and our native animals have co-evolved and become dependent on each other. So when we take that stuff away, we really do harm that ecosystem. I worked with another organization, which I recommend any of you working with. This is One Tree Planted. It's an international organization, and I worked with them to help augment this particular project, connectivity project. So at Markham Park is situated on the edge of Broward County and the Everglades Wildlife Management Area. It's in Sunrise, and it's composed of areas filled to create an upland, but historically Markham Park was a sawgrass prairie with some tree islands on it. Right now, invasive trees dominate the park, but habitats similar to what you see on tree islands and in the Everglades were what the parks people were telling us they wanted to see in the future there. So through the donation of DHL and their volunteers, we planted 8 to 10 foot overall Dahoon hollies, and 3 mature sable palms were also professionally installed. And 97 3-gallon native trees were installed by DHL volunteers all in one day. And this is the mapping here. We had this whole area of just open grass and sun and heat that nobody in the park was utilizing. It was just too hot. And since all of these new trees have been planted in here, they also added an ADA walkway in there, which is really nice. Here you can see the very happy Markham Park naturalist, Sarah Gerasi. She was great. And those are the sable palms that were installed and the Dahoon hollies. Here are some of the volunteers planting away. This was the youngest volunteer. He was very cute. And this helps to garden for wildlife. The park staff has told us that since we put in the Sierra Bird Garden and all of these native plants, they have seen an increase in wildlife there. These are some of the volunteers who are smiling at the end of the day, and we're so happy with the project. They've kind of adopted Markham Park and want to come back and do another planting, which I encourage. So we had in 2022, 3 more donations from One Tree Planted. 2 of these were for the city of Sunrise, and we created more habitat with beneficial native trees for the fauna that live in Sunrise. We had 100 trees installed by 20 volunteers at the Sunrise Fire Rescue Station number 92. These were some of the species that we put in: Dahoon hollies, Simpson stoppers, firebush, pond apples around the retention area, silver buttonwoods, satin leaf, densa pine, cinnamon bark, Bahama strong bark, some beautiful lignum vitae, and 2 fiddlewoods as well. The Carrie Kashar, who's just a pleasure to deal with in Sunrise, she's a sustainability officer there. She had hired an arborist to come in, an ISA certified arborist, to actually do a demonstration on how to properly plant these trees. And here are the people getting that planting demo. These are the pond apples that went along the waterway. Here's one of the satin leaves that were put in. Better shot of the satin leaves here in the swale area. They do like it a little bit more wet, so hopefully they'll do fine there. One of our volunteers on the left. We also installed more trees at Markham Park with the help of 29 volunteers. We did put in slash pines and fiddlewood and mulberry, bald cypress and pond cypress in the wet areas, some live oaks in the drier areas, red mulberries, red maples, Dahoon hollies again in the wet areas, persimmon, and 2 more large sable palms. And we had volunteers of all ages out there. They did a very nice job. And then we also worked at Central Broward Regional Park. Central Broward Regional Park was on the connectivity project. We had planted over 28 native trees, about 12 to 14 foot trees in there. And we augmented with this One Tree Planted donation. This park is approximately 110 acres in Lauderhill. The area planted added up to about a half an acre. These were all native trees that we used in this area. So we were able to introduce these native species to provide more habitat and more shade for the patrons. Most of the trees planted were providing coverage of the swap shop fence across the way. So it makes the park look nicer and more natural rather than having a look across at a gas station or a parking lot. And the community will be able to enjoy scenic walks around our natural areas while experiencing the wonders of this mesic hammock ecosystem. 7 volunteers installed 55 trees. They were all 3-gallon that they put in. We did have 10-foot persimmon trees and some live oaks put in professionally for them as part of this as well. I like to do a combination with these when I can. When one tree first approached me on a referral from Peter Burke, they wanted to do seedlings. And I said, look, I'm not interested in seedlings. The smallest that I'm interested in doing would be a 3-gallon plant material. But I personally like to put some larger tree material in and then let the volunteers get that hands-on experience doing the 3-gallon material. And I think it works out nicely. We get some bigger stuff in there. They get to see the larger trees and then get to have their hands-on buy-in with the 3-gallon material that they plant themselves. Here are some of these volunteers. It was a hot day. I can't believe they're smiling. It was pretty hot. I get flipped out sometimes when I get these calls and say, oh, you know, we have this donation. We have all these people that want to do a tree planting in August. I go, please, August. But yes, this one actually was a few months ago, so this wasn't too bad. So climate change, the elephant in the room, it's expected to increase the occurrence of our extreme weather. The intensity and the frequency of these tropical storms are going to increase. It's going to cause changes in our growing seasons, which we have seen already with the USDA planting zones changing already. There are a lot of things that were grown in the Keys and not in Broward County that we can now assist with migration to help these plants survive that may not survive going underwater when the Keys go under. So the adaptability of plants to these changes are going to affect our economy and how we landscape our homes and the wildlife that are dependent on certain plant species for their survival. We are in hurricane season. So I like to stress that when we know a hurricane is coming, we're all at Home Depot, we're all at Publix, we're getting our water, we're putting up our plywood if we don't have shutters, and we're hunkering down. Well, where do all those animals go when we have our hurricanes? Where do all the birds go? They're looking for shelter in those natural areas. So helping them also helps us, because when you stratify your landscape design, it increases your hurricane resistance and it also helps the wildlife. So if you have a canopy and a sub canopy or an understory, your shrub layer, and then your herbs and ground covers, you have more stratas or layers, and that gives you more protection from the hurricane damage. And it also has a greater reduction in temperature at the ground level and provides refuge for our wildlife. Water Matters Day is where we give away a lot of native trees. We try and encourage people to plant natives. We do offer some fruit trees as well, and occasionally a few trees that are Florida friendly and maybe have some pollinator benefits or wildlife benefits to them. We try and also include some endangered and rare species that are harder for homeowners to find on their own. In 2020, our Water Matters Day was canceled the day before we were supposed to have it. 2021 and 2022 were also COVID problems for us, but we were determined to get these trees out into the community. So we had no contact tree giveaways, which were open to anybody in Broward County and were very well received. We had people pre-register for the trees online, and that worked out fairly well. We are hoping on March 11th of 2023 that we will be able to get back to some kind of outside normalcy and be able to have our Water Matters Day outside. So fingers crossed on that. We don't know what new variant COVID may give us or what surge we might end up having. So remember, we breathe in what they breathe out. And that's it. So do I have any questions?
Rose, I don't see anything just yet in the chat. Let's just take a quick look.
I did, Kevin, and Rose, yes, there are some questions. Rose, one is mine, and that is going back to the rain tree. Is that the first time this tree's been moved?
Yes. Yes, they got permission to move it years ago, but they didn't move forward with that. And there was a lot of uproar about where they wanted to move it. It has 130 foot wide canopy, and they wanted to move it on a 90-foot lot and call it a park. So that got squashed. Then they said they were going to leave it on site, which made everybody happy. And then they changed their mind again and said, no, we are going to move it. So they are moving it very close to the new river. I am concerned, as well as the Fort Lauderdale Garden Club, who has been monitoring this, that it is protected from saltwater intrusion. We know how the king tides affect Las Olas and the Stranahan House with flooding. They were to raise the seawalls there in order to protect it. They are moving the tree. They have not raised the seawalls yet. They have informed me and the city urban forester, Mark Williams, that they will be elevating it to help to protect it from that inundation of salt water. I do have some other pictures of when they dug. They hit the water table, and all of that water in the water table came up and flooded it, and they had to pump all of that off. So it was scheduled to be moved this week on actually yesterday or today. But because of the heavy rains and the flooding that we've had, they have postponed that. So it's tentatively scheduled for next week on Wednesday or Thursday. I hope to have my coworker document with, he's got some great pictures with the drone on that. And hopefully when they do move it, it will allow for my schedule and also for Paul's. If we can, we'll get over there and get some more great drone pictures of the move. But fingers crossed. They did originally say they were going to post $1 million bond. The developer tried to drop that down to a $250,000 line of credit, which we protested. The Fort Lauderdale Garden Club made a big stink about that. If he was so confident that it wasn't going to die, then let him put his money where his mouth is and let him do what he said he was going to do when he got the okay to move it. So they did keep it at $1 million, but it's no longer a bond. I believe it's a personal guarantee of the developers. So if something should happen, they would have to go after the developer for that money. So for me, I'm hoping that she does survive the move. You know, it may look great for a year or two, but 5 years down the line, we don't know. So it is a gorgeous tree. It is a beautiful canopy, and I'm hoping that it does survive the move. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I know Mark Williams has really, short of chaining himself to the tree.
Yes. Yes. Well, you know, it's better than having all of us older garden ladies paint ourselves blue and chain ourselves to the tree. But yeah, Mark is monitoring it. Mark is monitoring it, and he is staying in touch with the garden club on what's happening with it and keeping us informed as to when the move should be. So, you know, would I rather see more things in place before the move? Sure. You know, but let's just see what happens here. We are in hurricane season, and it's going to have to be secured. So, but mostly my concern is the saltwater intrusion at this point.
Good point. We did, the reason I asked you that, we had a question. Where actually is the tree located? I mean, if you have a physical address, because we have some members that would like to see the tree and possibly see what I call the tree flying when they pick them up and move them.
Yeah, let's see. I may have the physical address in here a sec. Let me take a look and see.
And if you don't, that's fine.
Eric, no, I got it. 408 Southwest 4th Avenue, Fort Lauderdale.
So Richard, I would ask you to post that on our website as well, so members can see that. And the proposed date of move is?
Supposedly, tentatively next Wednesday or Thursday. So that would be the 27th or the 28th.
are they loading it onto a semi and driving it?
No, they have, uh, like pipes that go underneath it, that they
Right.
roll it and move it that way. And then at the last minute, they're going to have to lift it and put it into place.
They're gonna roll it down the roadway?
No, they're gonna roll it down the lot. If you want to share the screen again, can you see my screen or no?
Yes, you're still in charge. You're-
Okay, so here's the rain tree where it is now, and the proposed move is here.
You actually have. to
Rose, actually, you
unshare.
have to undo your PowerPoint and then
Unshare it.
reshare.
Ah,
Yeah.
oh, okay, all right, let's see. Undo the PowerPoint. Okay.
Nicely done, Rose.
Don't speak too soon here. Let's see. So that's not the one I want you to see. Where's the other shot? There's some of the plans. Back.
So it's not going far?
Okay, so here's where the tree is. And they're gonna put these metal rollers underneath it and
Rose,
support.
forgive me for interrupting. I'm not seeing anything. Bill, are you?
No, I've got it on the screen. They're moving the tree at night, in the darkness of night.
It, new share.
Try a new share. Yeah, see if that works.
There
Oh,
you
now
go.
you're talking.
There? Okay, you got it now?
That's
Okay.
it.
So
All
what-
right, so here's where the tree is now. They've taken some branches off of here. They could only take 10% off. I'm concerned about this other oak tree that's here. I think it's going to encroach on the canopy. They may have to get rid of that. But they're going to move it, roll it down to here, and then I believe they'll have to lift it into place right in this section
Oh.
here. So it's going to overlap part of the water here.
So Rose, if I understand your picture right, and I don't have a perspective on here, but they're maybe moving that a couple 100 yards.
Oh, God, I don't know.
I'm trying to be.
It's about
nice.
it's about a city block.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and I mean, there were people that, architects, that offered alternative designs where they could have kept the tree in place. I think they could have done something really nice with outdoor seating and restaurant around underneath it and stuff, but apparently that was it. But I did have another picture I thought of when they dug it. Here's some of, you can see some of the cuts here that were made, and you can see the box that was built around it. And I thought I had one shown. Oh yeah, this one here. Look at that water. That's the water table
Oh,
that here. So you know that's got to at least be brackish here. Then they had to pump all of this off. I believe they were pumping it out into the street, and then they complained. So they had to dig a hole here and pump it on site to percolate on site. But with that bit of storm that we had this week, I guess they just had too much flooding to move it, which actually works better with my schedule for next week, actually. Hopefully they'll do it on Thursday and not Wednesday, but I plan on trying to be there. So this, as far as I can tell, is the projected relocation spot.
So for those of you that have not seen a large relocation like this, it is very educational. I feel like we're a bunch of med students watching a heart transplant because it's a highly risky operation. There's obviously no doubt anybody who is a tree hugger to an arborist to whatever will realize the chances of survival and the procedure that's being proposed is a huge procedure. So yes, it may well be worth watching. Don't know about the survivability. I find it sad or hard to look at to say you're only picking it up and going there. If they were hauling it 25 miles, you know, where it's out of the way, but unfortunately they're going across a lot, which may be a little better for the tree, but too bad they could not design better. And as you said, Rose, leave it where it is and design around it. That seems to be the base principle. But
Yeah.
you did answer those two questions. Let me ask you another question, Rose, before we let you go.
Mhm.
You've alluded a lot to the certifications that Broward County offers and how hard you and your department and your people are working to get cities on board and to have wildlife habitats and to be certified lawns. If in the big grand picture, you were able to do that, and I think there's 32 cities in Broward County, if all of them were to be certified wildlife, what percentage canopy cover would we have of Broward County? Do you know that number?
No, I think that's just speculation. I think that, I think if I remember correctly, I think 40% of the urban tree canopy that we have now is on residential property. And really, we can't count on our parks for what we need for urban tree canopy. We need to get that canopy into people's yards, but how much space do they have? And then you got FPL reducing, increasing the area, you have to stay away from their lines, so that decreases a lot of large canopy trees. And one of the things that I was thinking that I missed in this, that I was thinking this morning when I was talking with Mike Orphanides, is the silver cells, because if you're doing a new development, try and get the silver cells in there where you can put the large tree canopy in where it's not going to affect your sidewalks and your roads and your infrastructure, and it's better for stormwater as well. But once you've already pretty much developed, it's hard to retrofit stuff. So we really need to look at the areas where we can put those big trees in, whether it's like we did at the parks to like increase the canopy at the parks, at the schools to increase the schools that we picked were in close proximity to green areas. So we were kind of extending that movement corridor for the wildlife by doing that. And then the concept is to get those kids home and to talk to their parents about doing the same thing in your yard. So it's like a pearl necklace, you just keep adding another one on to increase that, at least for the migratory animals anyways, but to increase our canopy. But we really need to change our mindsets with our urban development. The people just think of trees as ornamental, the last little decorative thing that they squeeze in to the property, and they are much more valuable than that. Yes, they are beautiful, but they provide so many other benefits, and we're shooting ourselves in the foot by getting rid of our large tree canopies and replacing with these smaller things and palm trees. I like palm trees, but really they're not going to provide what we need. Yeah, they give you a nice tropical look and stuff, but and if you put palm trees in, does it have to be a queen palm or foxtail guzzling, all of that fertilizer? And it drives me absolutely bat crazy when I see people plant those fertilizer guzzlers in the swales that are meant to collect the water. So, if you're going to put in a solitary palm, why can't you put in our native thatch palm, what's endangered, and they're beautiful? Let's stop the insanity here. I saw actually Carrie Kashar sent me some landscape plants to look at the other day. She goes, I don't know if it's me, but is there something wrong with this? And I said, yeah, the plan looks like the landscape architect is using the same plan he used in 1970. Let's plant some ligustrums and some liriape and some crotons. Is that really the best we can do after all we've learned? Is that really the best we can do? Let's get some of these native plants in there.
Well, Rose, you brought up a couple good points. I won't mention the fact that the person that was doing the reviews for Carrie Kashar retired in January, so they accept no responsibility. But I will say, we certainly appreciate what you and through your association with Broward County and your outreach to the cities in Broward are trying to do. Are there equivalents for Palm Beach and Dade County? Is there your job same?
No, there really isn't. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that Zoom has done positively is that I get a lot more reach out of the community with my presentations. And I had people from Port St. Lucie Conservation Area that wanted to know what we were doing here in Broward County so that they could emulate it. And I mean, you can have community wildlife habitats all over the country, and there are some in Miami and there are some in Palm Beach, but I don't know of any other county that has what we have, the Naturescape program, which was really Kristen Jacobs' baby. That was, you know, God rest her soul. She was a wonderful environmentalist, and she really pushed for this herself. And it's something that the county has been committed to. And I think the relationship with National Wildlife Federation is very symbiotic, and it works out well for both of us. And it's in line with what we want to do. So I think it works out well. We work with the University of Florida on the Florida Yards and Neighborhoods program as well. So there are one of two ways that you can become a Naturescape. If you get recognized by the University of Florida as a Florida Yards and Neighborhood recognized yard, then you are also automatically a Naturescape. We like people to have both, because you have the one mindset of what you're planting and the other mindset about how to take care of it properly, what the proper irrigation is and what the proper mulching is, and, you know, all of those other components that go into your best management practices. So when we have our Emerald Awards, which anybody can apply for, municipalities and individuals, we encourage them to be both, but they only need to be one to apply.
Excellent. Well,
And
Rose,
any of you people in your cities, reach out to me, send me an email. You want any brochures, you want any presentations to your employees or your HOAs, whatever, just give me a call. I'm happy to help. And if any of you are interested in helping your particular communities with community wildlife habitat, I can connect you with the core people in your city that are doing that. So just reach out to me anytime.
Rose, that's excellent. And thank you very much. Thanks for what you do. In addition to presenting to us, we really appreciate it. You gave me two beautiful segues into things that I want to cover. One, as you said, unfortunately, the job that you have is not mimicked north and south in Dade or Palm Beach County. And that is going to bring in our next speaker, which would be Mike. And same thing with things like tree trimming, where Broward County seemed to be at the head of the curve with the tree trimming ordinances, and Mike's going to cover more grades and standards, but some of the things that have changed in ordinances. So we would love to see not just Broward County offering wonderful assistant programs and assistance to to our residents, but we'd love to have it mirrored in other counties, because that's the only way we're going to get ahead. The other thing I thank you, besides again doing the presentation, you alluded to the Silva cells. So I will take this quick opportunity before we go to John Roberts. I will tell you real quick, membership, that the dates, I'll go back through at the end, but the dates for the 2022 seminar have been set. And one of the speakers will be Al Key, who is exactly who Rose is alluding to. He's president or something with Silva Cells, the producer of Silva Cells. And he's going to be doing a talk on the first half day as far as the amount of soil that's needed to keep an urban tree happy. And at this point, he's allowed for the second day, the half day in a park, that we're going to have some actual Silva cells out there. I'm hoping to be able to have a trench and plant them, but I'm not sure about that. But because a lot of people are not yet familiar with things like Silva cells, but as Rose alluded to, as the crunch for green space gets just so competitive, we need to have things like those, the Silva cells, et cetera, to be able to get trees of any kind of size into an urban area, because the days of the spreading oak in a parking lot just isn't going to happen. Just isn't going to happen. But that's what
And what's that date, Bill? Do you have it for the?
I do. Do I have it in front of me? October. Kevin's going to bail me out. That's what good guys do. 12th and 19th, Kevin? No, November.
You're breaking up, Bill. Try again.
I will get that and it will be posted.
Okay,
Rose, I thank you very much, Rose. We really appreciate hearing from you. And as always, you know, you're welcome back anytime. As you move through your future, please stay with us and let us know if there's anything we can do.
okay, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, Rose. Take care.
It is the 12th and the 19th,
12th and the 19th. Okay.
Of October or November?
October.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So, Kevin, if you would, or Richard, John Roberts is on. Please find him, give him, we're
He
getting,
he has been made a co-host, so John can take control at his leisure.
excellent. For the
Mm,
membership, as you saw from last month, what we've done, we used to have a minute with Mike, and Mike would give us the update on Broward County goings on. Since this is now the state LIAF meeting, we also incorporated two other, the surrounding counties to participate as well. And Henry being the Dade County rep, and I'm glad to say, as we had last month, John Roberts, the Palm Beach County rep, was able to step in and talk with us. So we've invited John back on a ongoing monthly basis to update us on what's going on in Palm Beach County. So John, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Hey, thank you, sir. I just wanted to echo something that like Henry had mentioned as well. There seems to be a lot of whitefly activity. I think that there's a lot of demand for an update in terms of university and USDA research that's ongoing. There will be a webinar, I believe, in the first week of September that's put on by that group. I think it's going to be a couple hours long. And Henry and I are hoping to have a similar, like an abridged version of it available with the CEU credits as well in October or so. It's been kind of tough to get all the researchers' schedules to line up, but we will pass that information along once we have that. So, and we'll follow up as well with the one that's coming in September. It's going to be a little bit longer, but they'll both be webinars. So that's really it in terms of all I've got. I know we'll all be up at the urban tree diversity meeting as well. I don't know if there was anything covered about that, but that's ongoing. Maybe we can post a link for that as well. But that's it. That's all I've got.
That was easy. Thank you, John. And members, for those of you that don't know, John, he is covering right now as the Palm Beach County Extension Agent for landscape and horticulture, though he's fully qualified and could stay on that end. I think, John, as you alluded to, possibly you'll be moving on to a little bit more of the nursery end. You will still be certainly invited back for that should you transition into it. But in the meantime, members, if you need to reach out to him, please do. A very good asset. And Henry sent me an email, and he is duplicating the same things that you are mentioning will be going on in Dade County. So I'm glad to say there's a tri-county agreement on all three of these programs. With that, Kevin or Richard, would you please let our Broward County representative, the good Dr. Michael Orphanides, please bring him in. Mike has been good enough to not only cover on the extension cord, as we're now calling that part, but he's also, because of Michelle's fall to COVID, Mike has got a couple minutes he wants to talk about. So Mike is going to go through a program that he was going to produce or present to us a couple months ago. So Michael, good to see you. Welcome back. And I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Well, thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be with you. Hopefully I can share my screen with no problems. How does that look?
Like your office.
We don't see anything at all.
Really? I'll be darned.
Yeah, Mike.
You got some coffee going, just very clean.
All right, let me try to back out of this and share the screen again. Okay, so let's try that.
There you
Oh,
go.
oh, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Nicely done, sir.
Can you see the full screen or do you see the little slides on the left?
We see,
No, you
we
have to
see
start it.
your view. So yeah, we don't quite see the full screen.
Yeah, you have to start the presentation.
Work on that. How's that look?
Did you click the button? Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Now you're good.
Is that it?
That's it. You're on.
Hallelujah. Well, it's a pleasure to be with you guys. Again, we're three of us in these three counties are working pretty closely together. It's great to have a team. I wanted to just quickly, I know some of you were new and maybe haven't utilized the extension service too much, but I want to just go quickly through some slides about the program here in Broward, and then I want to devolve or evolve, maybe is a better way to, well, it's probably devolving. We need to talk about what we're going to do as our tree trimmer licensing ordinance sunsets. As you well know, most of you that have any dealings with our Broward County tree trimmer licensing ordinance, this would have been its 22nd birthday coming up. And so due to Tallahassee and the state legislature's preemption of local ordinances, local jurisdictions that require licensing, we're going to lose it come next July the 1st, 2023. We will no longer have our Broward County tree trimmer licensing ordinance. So in planning for the aftermath of it, things are going to be very different for you people in the cities who, have been helping us enforce it, following up on it, promoting it, permits based on someone having a tree trimmer license, or that's all going away, folks. And we need to plan for that, what that's going to look like, how it's going to impact your fees and, where you send people that abuse trees. We have not lost our tree preservation and abuse ordinance. That's still on the books. They haven't taken that away from us yet, but the county's ability to require a license from a company or an individual, a sole proprietor who cuts trees for hire is going by the wayside. It is part of the notion that somehow by having less government, this is good for Florida families because it'll cut their costs. And so far, I have not seen any requirements for any kind of liability insurance, any kind of workman's comp, any kind of safety training. This is a very hazardous profession, as most of you well know. I think it's second only to roofing in terms of accident claims and so forth. So it's going to be a real interesting situation come next summer when pool guys and maintenance men are getting into the tree trimming business. So it is what it is. So, but before we get to that, I just want to give you a quick overview of our program because I do need to write a plan of work this fall. All three of us, John, myself, and Henry, we in Extension have to create a plan of work for the coming year, 2023. We need to have that approved. And so I'm trying to get my ducks lined up and planning for the future and what that's going to look like. So our program, as well as many of you know, deals with environmental landscape management and sustainable production of ornamental plant material. We do have an advisory committee. Some of you guys may be on the call today. I don't know. Certainly William is here, I know for a fact. But these are some of the folks, and we may be looking for more to help us review our program, make sure it's grassroots, that it's meeting the needs, that it's, not dealing with things that are peripheral, but really getting to the nitty-gritty issues. So you'll see a mix of pest control and tree trimming and regulatory folks. Mark Torek, previously our state urban forester, now with City of Coconut Creek. Coral Springs. Anyway, we have an academic, Dr. Moore. And so all of these folks come together with us several times a year to kind of review the program and make sure that it's on board and meeting the needs. This is our team. Obviously, you know me and most of you know Donna, but you may not, probably have not met Giuseppe. Giuseppe Di Jacinto is our newest hire. He is an educational training specialist. We did not fill the position with a clerical support person anymore because we feel we can pretty much cover those kinds of duties remotely and with technology. So we're going to have 3 educators, not 2. And so it's a pleasure to have Giuseppe on board today. I believe Donna is listening in as well. So these are recent pictures taken in the last couple of days. So that's what we look like if you haven't met us or seen us in a long time because of COVID. We're still here and kicking. So there are 3 main programs, I should say, to our extension program for commercial horticulture. One is our tree trimmer program on the left that we've had since 2001. We started training, and we're going to lose that. So that's what I want to talk to you about mostly today. We do, of course, work with LIAF and FNGLA and the cities and the county on sustainability, creating, maintaining sustainable urban forests. Rose's great presentation today just really hit on the need to stay the track, stay the course, stay focused on this, because this is our future. And there's a lot of things cutting across the grain coming at us in terms of climate change and overdevelopment and just, you know, the gobbling up of the land and squeezing out the green. And then we have our water quality and our pest management, you know, program there on the right. So regarding the tree trimmer, I want to tell you that I'm proud to say we have issued over 16,000 certifications since the program began doing training back in 2001. And William has been a part of that. He's been one of the instructors, and maybe there are some others of you on the call today that have helped piloting this effort and pulling it off as we have. We've trained probably on average about 700 people a year. And it's objectives based. We give pre-tests and post-tests. We want to see how much knowledge gain occurs, because that's what I get graded on. So folks come in either in English or Spanish for a 4-hour class, and unless it's pouring rain, lightning and thundering, we are going to trim some trees. And so we've been graciously allowed free meeting space at some of the community centers in the different cities, some of our county parks, and of course here at Extension Education. We also do the GIBMP program, which is required if you're applying fertilizer to urban landscapes for hire, you know, not doing your own yard or doing your neighbor's yard for free. But if you're applying fertilizer to urban landscapes, you do need to have certification and a license from the state of Florida. We do those classes in English and Spanish. And again, some of you on the call today have been volunteer instructors in that effort. William comes to mind, December comes to mind, and so forth. We do pesticide applicator training and testing. We had a class yesterday where we have them regularly. We also offer examinations. We used to do them written. Now they're all on the computer, and we're testing probably about 200 people a year. It's all on the computer, and people get their results right away, so there's no wait. So that's a good thing. Finally, if you've got a problem pest, nutrient deficiency, or you just plain don't know what you're dealing with, we are here to help, and we do not charge. It's a diagnostic identification service that usually starts out with a phone call, an email, and some photos. And if we can't answer or get to the bottom of it there, we I'll suggest you bring a sample in. Rarely, but sometimes a site visit might be required, and so we have to kind of work to schedule that. So with regard to our classes, whether it be tree trimmer, GIBMP, pesticide applicator training, we do them, some of them with Zoom. More and more we're getting back to in person. This is a shot. I love this day. It's a great photo. Maybe the weather wasn't so good, but Wade Collum there demonstrating some structural pruning. I believe it was on that was a memory tree for one of the former deans at FAU. Lot of interest and intrigue there. Look at that audience, just watching Wade as he does his magic. And so, this kind of brings out in the field the concepts that we've tried to convey in the class about proper pruning. All of our programs, as I mentioned, we have 2 training specialists now. We don't have a clerical person, so all of the registration is through Eventbrite online, which saves us a lot of time and headache. You do pay a little fee to Eventbrite, of course, to cover that. But if you go on the site or our website, you're going to see material that looks like this. Everything is through Eventbrite. We also have a newsletter, and I have to say, shout out to Donna Castro on this. She has been really the genie behind the scenes, making the magic happen with our MailChimp newsletter that goes out approximately once a month, sometimes a little longer. It depends on our workload, but We have over 2,000 clients now receiving this regular newsletter that has links in it, hot links. It's got updates on new things, new pests, as well as training opportunities. And getting back to the pesticide testing, I just want to remind the folks, it's the first and third Tuesday of the month, and you definitely have to have a pre-approved voucher in order to get a seat. We only have 8 laptops in the auditorium. All of our classes, everything is socially distanced, so I'm very limited in the number of people I can have in the room. It's about 18, but everybody gets their own desk, their own table. We don't have 2 or 3 people sitting next to each other. We just don't do that anymore. And the beauty is, like I said, they get their results right away. So here's just a little snapshot of our website. There's a link up at the top. You can just Google UF IFAS Broward County Extension, and you can also get to us that way. We also have a presence on Facebook, and Donna again has been kind of championing that. We're reporting our reaches and our engagements. We're also blog writers. Donna probably is carrying the ball on that one. I am also doing some blogs and had some great ideas from a meeting that Rose and I attended this morning for some blogs. People seem to really like the short and sweet, it seems, anymore. But we are on Facebook, so I would encourage you to reach out to us there. We also are dabbling a little bit in Instagram, and we have a donate button on our website now. If you know somebody who feels that Extension has benefited them and would like to contribute either donations of equipment, tree samples that I can use in the classes, or grant dollars, whatever, we're certainly open to all of that. And then I just wanted to make a mention of our partners, and there are many others on here, but if you'll notice, the South Florida municipalities, many of them have worked with us, helped us promote our events or hosted events. We've gotten free meeting space, and we really appreciate that. So this is for more information. That's our QR code. And as I said before, you can find us by just Googling UF IFAS Broward County Extension. Now, in the remaining time I have, I want to double down, drill down, whatever the term is, on our tree trimmer licensing ordinance sunsetting. So imagine now, come next year, when we don't have that ordinance anymore, we don't have training classes that are mandated. You guys are going to be issuing permits for pruning maybe, but you can't require a license. How are you going to know whether this guy or gal is qualified to trim trees? You're not. And the other problem comes into when unlicensed and untrained people start pruning trees, a lot of times bad things can happen. So we've been wrestling with, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to hang up pruning education in Broward County? That would be a real shame. I think certainly got a great track record in terms of how to conduct education and how to make it relevant to people in their lives. So I believe it was Sharon Vollmer suggested to me that we have a class kind of like traffic school for tree abusers. And, if you get a moving violation, and you can hire an attorney and fight the ticket, or you can pay the fine and or go to traffic school. So I have this idea of a potential, this is like a draft agenda. And so you in the cities, imagine you get a call, somebody's butchering oak trees or black olives on Main Street, whatever. What are you going to do? Are you going to go out? Are you going to take the guy on? Are you going to bust him? Are you going to stop the work? Are you going to issue him a violation? We still have our Broward County Tree Preservation and Abuse Ordinance. And Peter Burke, trust me, is going to hold your feet to the fire that you're enforcing that, right? Every 5 years, each of the Broward cities has to come before Broward County and have Peter and his team review your code and make sure that it's at least as stringent as the Broward Code. You're not going to have the tree trimmer license to fall back on anymore. So what I'm proposing, and maybe it's not needed, I got plenty of other things I can work on, but what if we had a class like traffic school where you could send so-and-so to down to Davie, or maybe we'd have it at a park, I don't know, or maybe we'd have it in your city. And we're going to have a class for people that have been busted for abusing trees. Here are some things I thought of that might be a way of at least getting them a little bit of information. So first of all, it would be, okay, you got busted, so that's why you're here. But why does it matter? Because we have an ordinance. You're not supposed to be doing this kind of pruning. It's bad for the trees, it's bad for the public, it's bad for the environment. And it doesn't look good, by the way. What is tree abuse? We're going to teach you what topping is and flush cuts and lion's tailing and the kinds of things that you probably got busted for. But what does proper pruning look like? We have standards. We have something called the ANSI. And people, when they prune trees in the United States of America, are supposed to follow some type of standard, a minimum. We'll review with you. What are good cuts? What does clearance pruning look like? What should it look like? How about canopy reduction done right? That doesn't mean you're going to just chop the top off of a tree. Hey, we're in Hurricane Alley. Maybe we could teach you how to prune a tree to improve its structure, remove canopy defects so that that tree might just get through the next storm season without splitting apart and landing on your customer's house or car. And then let's talk a little bit about safety, safety of you and your workers. Falls, falling limbs, chainsaw accidents, chipper, ladder safety, ear protection. Do you know what kind of personal protective equipment you're supposed to be using when you're operating a chainsaw? Some of these guys will have no clue. And then, time permitting, maybe we could go outside and prune a few trees so they could actually see it done. Some other possible topics, I don't know whether we'd have time for it, and that's why I'm throwing this out to you guys, because this is just some spaghetti I threw on the wall. In terms of possible topics to deal with these people, a lot of them aren't going to want to be here. But why would it be a good thing to have liability insurance? It's going to cost you some money. How do you manage customers, especially difficult ones that want to micromanage you or make you do things that you could get in trouble for and have a repeat occurrence of what just happened? And by the way, have you ever thought about actually writing something down about the objective of what you're pruning, why you're doing the pruning, and how much it's going to cost, and what plant parts you're going to be removing so you don't get nickeled and dimed at the end of the day? And oh, by the way, why don't you get some credentials and become a true professional? Here's one option: become a certified arborist. So I'm all ears at this point. You guys speak to me through the chat, through however, but I would like to know in the coming weeks whether this is something the cities would actually use. Would they send people to us? What would that look like? Do we need to give them a test? Do we need to give them some kind of certificate that they actually attended and weren't on their phone out in the parking lot in their pickup truck? So I'm all ears. I'm going to turn it back to William and let you run the show in terms of the feedback that I'm looking for. But I just wanted to put this out there.
Thank you, Mike. And I have to tell you, so Mike, I don't care if you hear this or not, that was one of the finest programs and really brought Broward County to a leadership role. I know we're a state association, and I can't tell you, except for the years that I've known Mike, how many other counties reached out to Mike and said, wow, this is great. We're interested in Orange County. We're interested in St. Lucie County. How did you do this? How did you pull this off? You know, sadly, for those members that are on here that are in Dade County, they're trying to clean up the mess. You know, it's almost like maybe a hurricane or something else that swept across the state, starting from the south and moving north. Dade County just got pummeled from poor tree trimming. You know, as Mike alluded to early, hey, yesterday I was selling used cars, today I'm a tree trimmer, or maybe I'm both. You know, there was just no rules, rights, or regulation. And Mike and Peggy and everybody else that I've dealt with for years that have been involved with people that are trimming trees have all run across people where maybe you as an urban forester or a city landscape inspector or just a concerned citizen or a tree trimmer that calls the city to say, I'm seeing some atrocious tree trimming going on out here. Please, somebody stop them. So we would go out and you try and be nice or social and say, wow, that isn't an acceptable method. And the most common retort to that is, hey, I've been doing it this way for 30 years. And you want to just turn back and say doing wrong for 30 years just doesn't make it right. It makes it redundant, but it doesn't make it right. So Mike and that program were light years ahead. Michael, you educated, as you said, literally thousands of people. And all the years that I was there somewhat assisting with you, I never heard anybody say, what a waste of time this was. I did see numerous people coming up and saying, wow, this was really great. I saw numerous business owners coming up and saying, I'm sending my employees, because they don't know, they didn't see. It was a very, very well done program. So kudos to you. It's a shame that portion of it is sunsetting, but I'm glad to hear what you're saying is, hey, how do we continue the education? If it's not mandated, it doesn't mean the education isn't necessary. So that's what I think Mike is challenging all of us with, is saying, how do we continue to get that information out there? There are great books. Ed Gilman's produced a lot of great books. The ISA manual, the new manual that's out, great book. All the counties, Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, have wonderful information pamphlets and such out there, if people choose to reach out and get them and they choose to learn from them. The deficiency is there's no requirement to do that per se, and they may not. And hence we're going to kind of take a step back where, how do you learn how to tree trim? I either just do it, or somebody who maybe was doing it wrong trains me, as opposed to Mike, who is going to train you how to properly do it. So again, Michael, kudos to you on that program. Sorry to see it go, but at the same time, it was a moonshot, man. You did a good job and brought Broward County head and shoulders above. So we're not looking to give up on that. One thing I do want to say to membership, as Mike pointed out, it's the licensing that's going away. It is not the requirement to prune properly. So unfortunately, what that's saying is, nobody needs driver's licenses, but everybody has to follow all the rules of the road. So, you pull somebody over and say, well, I didn't know I couldn't go 100 miles an hour, or I didn't know I had to stop at that 8-sided red sign. Okay, so they took away Mike's education, but not the requirements to trim trees properly. So that's, I think, the question. How do we continue to offer and move forward with the education that's needed? Go ahead, Mike.
So I guess and I see it looks like the chat's been disabled, but what I would really, really like to know is, if your city or your company is interested in, would support the some type of a class, several 2-3 hour class for people that you think would be valuable. I mean, we're going to probably get requests from cities, and we've done some private classes all these years on the side. Well, as a part of the extension program, but not a publicly announced training per se that you could actually sign up through Eventbrite on. But I guess I would like to know, for planning purposes, would cities who stop folks from abusing trees, would this be of a value to you to send these folks to attend? And if so, what type of proof of attendance, or if you feel like they need to pass a little quiz, what would that look like? Because if it's just silent, I don't know what y'all are thinking. We could just do private classes, and then I'm sure I can find plenty to keep myself busy. That's not the issue at all. It's just, if I was an urban forester in Davie for 3 years, and I busted people for poor tree abuse, and we would send them to Broward County and say, hey, you need to get licensed, and in order to get licensed, you got to first take this class. If I was in those shoes today, I'd say, hey, you can go right up the street here and take a class, and then when you've completed, come back and let me know, and then you're free to continue to work. Otherwise, we're taking you before the special master. I don't know. You guys tell me. You're in the regulatory realm. I'm no longer in those shoes. It's been a while. I just want to know if something like this would be utilized by the cities, and if not, we'll just do private classes.
Well, Mike, education, and that is IFAS and everything else, outreach and education is invaluable. So yes, I think everybody here, who be they an arborist, a tree trimmer, urban forester, or whatever, realize the benefits of education. How to get them there? Unfortunately, we lost this more or less enforcement arm. Okay, but you know what? There's other venues, and I think that's what you're asking. Is it enforcement? Is it encouragement? If it's people from cities across the Tri-County area saying, hey, maybe it's the management company that says, we want to make sure the people that trim our trees know what they're doing. So we will open up, and anybody that wants to reach out to Mike, we'll post his email contact on our web link as well. If you've got ideas, if you have things, because we're not trying to enforce, we're trying to educate. And if part of education comes through enforcement, unfortunately from the trees end, that enforcement may be after a 30-year-old tree is abused and will never heal again. That's sad. We want to get it out there ahead of time. So better tree trimmers and more professional people will seek out things like the education you're offering, Mike, to be able to know how to do it before they get involved with it.
If I could just ask you, William, I mean, you're just newly retired urban forester for many years with City of Sunrise, which requires a permit for pruning, as I understand it. So now that you're gone, let's say Peggy gets a call and there's been somebody who's hat racking a bunch of oaks on Sunrise Boulevard near the Sawgrass Mills Mall, a real high profile area. Would Peggy have any ability to she could certainly shut the job down, right? And then could she require somebody to come to this class?
Her abilities are in general, the abilities of landscape inspectors and urban foresters would be to enforce the code of the city that they represent, as well as ANSI standards, which all the codes have to incorporate. So they would indeed be able to stop. They would be able to bring before the magistrate of that given city. Whether or not it came down to being able to say, as part of it, we require, I think that would take either each municipality now would have to somehow incorporate that or encourage it or make it part of the violation, maybe in lieu of dollars, because dollars are okay, but they don't really restore the tree. If we got education to those people that are out doing the tree trimming, that's much more important than $5,000 that they kick into a tree fund. That's much more important.
So what you're saying is it is possible that a city magistrate could order the defendant to attend a tree pruning class.
Yes, as long what they would look towards is it covered in the code? Because they're enforcing the code of any given municipality. And if it were in the code for the city that these people represent, yes, it would. And then in addition, most magistrates are pretty reasonable people. And if they looked at it and said, hey, we're going to fine you $5,000, or you and your crew can go take a one-day class, what a win-win. Most cities don't need the 5,000. What they need is the education of those people. So when they do trim in that city or any other city in the Tri-County area, they do it smarter the next time. So I certainly see your idea as a true benefit to everybody. Again, a win-win.
Okay, well, what I'm looking for is feedback from the city. So, guys, email me, M as in Mike, ORF as in Frank. That's Morph, MORF @ufl.edu. Or call me.
Go ahead. We'll make sure that gets put on the website. So indeed we can do that. The other one, for all you people that are out there, we as the Landscape Inspector Association of Florida are always looking for education. So just like we promote certified members, I think when you all have the ability to influence, be it a city or a rec board or a property manager, if you have the ability to say, hey, it's head to head and this company ABC is 5,000 more than this other company XYZ, but let's look. Well, they've got LIAF certified members on this. They've got people with ISA. They've got trained. They're going to come in and do this right. So hence the benefit of being a certified member of things like LIAF, ISA, FNGLA, all those other things. And that comes, quote, at a price. Just like you all have spent the past better part of 2 hours here getting education. Maybe you spend a day with Mike. Maybe you spend a day with that, be it Dade or Palm Beach or Broward, getting an education and understanding of how to properly prune. That then holds weight moving forward, so that when there are bids out there, hopefully property managers and everybody else can say, yep, you're right. that difference in dollar is worth it to us to choose somebody who is certified and knows how they're going to do this correctly. So again, Mike's address will be posted on there. And Michael, we appreciate it. Not just what you've done in the past, but however long your short future is here as you get close to retirement.
I'm sorry, I've got to interject. Mike is not allowed to leave. Mike is not allowed to retire at all. Sorry.
Spoken like a person with a lot of years to go, Kevin, because I'm on the other side. And I don't mean the below ground side, but Mike, I encourage you to come out here as soon as you can. It's great.
They're gonna find me hunched over a computer when I'm 78. That's where I'm going. Never say die.
Appreciate
We're
the,
working on a robot body.
Excellent. Well, Michael, again, I thank you very much for stepping in and presenting super important information. And I tell you what, as Mike said, that's what UF IFAS, be it Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, or all the way up the state, are there for. They have a deep well of information, not just pamphlets when you walk in the door, things on the website, but people that you can reach out to when you have a question. So everybody that's out there, I would certainly encourage you to keep UF IFAS as an asset and use it when you need it, because that's the professionalism you need. You're not getting it from a slant side that says, hey, I want you to use this product over that product. This is truly just university research brought down and filtered to the green industry, and that's where we need it the most. So
thank you.
thank you, Michael. All right, take care. All right, for the rest of you, let's see if we can go back. Richard, if you would bring us back.
One moment, please.
Oh, we want, oh,
Oh, on Mike.
yeah. There you go.
Okay, great. So for membership, a couple things we've got going. Due to COVID, we've been virtual for a while. I am very glad to say our numbers are always pretty good. One of the things we're concerned about, just as Michael is concerned about how to get information out to people, and that is making sure that we're getting the information to you all, and that we're presenting a program that keeps you just glued to your computer for the last 2 hours. I am somewhat concerned about that because Zoom fatigue sets in on a lot of people when you have meetings all day long via Zoom, et cetera, et cetera. It's like sometimes looking at your inbox and seeing that you've got 52 emails that you haven't responded to. So we are looking forward to going back to some live in-person ones. What I presented to the board recently was the state board for LIAF, was to say that we do quarterly meetings in the tri-county areas, and have them available on Zoom as well, and be able to see some people in person, live and in person, once every 3 months, and have it where everybody could attend at any given time over Zoom. So we're looking to hybridize this entire presentation to make sure that we're reaching out to our members. It is super important to us that as certified and non-certified, but as certified members, when we issue LIAF credits to people, that they have received an education. And if you listen to what Rose said, and you listen to some of the things Mike said, and you listen to John Roberts, and you listen to the other people that are presenting the information that's out there, there's a lot of things that are coming your way that are beneficial for you in your daily job. We just have to make sure you're able to get it, it's there, and it's exciting enough that you're paying attention to it. So we're always open to ideas and to changing and morphing. But at this point, we're going to predominantly remain Zoom, and then we are going to start moving through the tri-county areas. All right, and I think that's it. Kevin, anything pop up in the chat? I don't see any chats. Kevin, anything you need to add to us?
Yeah.
We have posted the August meeting link, which is going to be August 25th. We don't, know who's speaking yet, but we do have a date, which is August 25th. So that is up in the chat right now. It will, in relatively short order, be on the website. So keep an eye out there. You can always go to landscapeinspectors.org. If LIAF is another something, you know what it stands for, Bill. It's like it's some European,
London Institute of Animated Films.
animated film, right, which is. it's probably-
London International Animation Festival.
International
can't-
Animation Festival, but that's not us.
We have to take over, we have to take them
Island
over.
Alzheimer's and Dementia Center.
So, but we do have as I mentioned earlier, just want to remind people again, we do have the exam coming up in August. Those dates are, real quick. Review session, August 15th. Getting green for field tree grading, practice and review. August 22nd will be an all-day session with the likes of myself, Dr. Lopernidis, Henry Mayer, Chris Muller, possibly some other guests to help us disseminate some information. And then on Saturday, the 27th of August, we will be having the field exam and the in-person exam all through the course of the day from about 9 to 4. So that application, if it's not updated, will be shortly also on the website. You can also reach out to exam@landscapeinspectors.org, and we will send you an application for the exam. One quick note on that front. The examination is only being offered to those who can provide proof of membership. So if you have a dubious status of your membership, you may not be allowed to sit for the exam. I cannot be the membership police. We do ask that you be responsible for yourselves in that regard. And but you will unfortunately not be considered unless you can provide proof of membership when you do apply to take the exam.
So if you look up dubious in the Webster dictionary, it's going to say things like slacker.
I just brought it up and I see a picture of you, Bill.
Oh, hello.
So we certainly, it's an organization that tries to bring you a lot of things, and at some point we just want to make sure that you're doing your part. So again, it is 3 o'clock. I thank you all. The next meeting is going to happen fast because the way the calendar lays out, we do have the speakers lined up. Kevin, I will send you the names, and as always, they are going to be very energetic and very educational speakers for the month. We look forward to it. Until then, everybody, please stay well, get your vaccinations, do whatever you can to not catch COVID, stay hydrated so you don't pass out, and sunscreen up because it stinks to go see your dermatologist when you hit certain ages. All right. Thank you all. Take care. If you have anything, jump on the website and let us know. Have a great day. We'll see you in August.